Hey, welcome to our video on conditioning. I'm Mark Hadmaker. This is our gladiator conditioning program, what we use to get our fighters up to speed, whether they're going to the professional, semi-professional, the amateur level, or just you happen to be someone who wants to stay in shape. Now, all the exercises we'll be using in this program, they are fighter functional. We're looking for, we're not emphasizing aesthetics. If you want rippling biceps and washboard abs, perhaps you'll get this from this if you push it enough. What we're really looking for, though, is building up your muscular endurance, your anaerobic capacity. Everything's going to really get you ready for how things are going to be in the fight arena. Now, what we're going to be looking here at are some exercises that probably, if you take them piecemeal, they're nothing new. They're things you've probably seen before, but it's the way we're arranging the exercises. So we're trying to marry the old material with the scientific method of today, trying to put these things together in a synergistic fashion to make them work for you. Also, the exercises will have some the aspect of specificity to make them more useful to your process. You got to make sure it's how you train is how you're going to fight. So lots of times, lifting weights, everything's fine. Not disparaging that at all. Any kind of thing you can do to make yourself better is obviously the way to go. But every one of these exercises will have a direct application to how you might be moving around the mat, whether it's a striking art, a grappling art, or even a weapon art. So with that said, just take a look at the video. Probably want to take some notes along the way. Then after that, go to work with the material. We're going to look at flexibility. Before we get on to the strength and the endurance, we've got to make sure that your body's loosened from head to toe or toe to head, either way. Whenever we're looking at flexibility, lots of times what we'll see with martial artists, they have a tendency to concentrate in one particular area, particularly the hip girdle, the groin muscles, and the hamstrings. They're ignoring the rest of the body. What we're trying to do here is we're building up total body flexibility. We're going to start from the ground up. We're going to work from the soles of the feet all the way up to the neck. And we take each of these exercises in progression to build them all the way through. They'll kind of create a synergistic effect all the way through. Instead of me just taking and picking random exercises, we find by training the muscles and the joints in succession, you're going to come out with more fluidity by the time you're through with this program. So it's just a dozen exercises. We call this the grappler's dozen. Because we find that wrestlers have to have a bit more flexibility than most other combat artists. It's not disparaging high kickers or anything, but they usually don't get tied up like a pretzel sometimes. So you're going to have some shoulder flexibility, neck flexibility, back, as well as the leg, hamstring, and groin flexibility. So if we start from the ground up and build, the first thing we've got to stretch out would be the soles of the feet. So if I turn and give you profile, I'm going to take and dig the balls of the feet into the mat, and then I'll sit back over the balls of the feet. And what I'm going to be doing to stretch the soles of the feet is just placing my hands on the mat and I'm pushing my heels back past the balls of my feet. Doesn't look like much, and it doesn't seem like a very important stretch to some, but for lots of people who already have a lot of mat time, you'll find that the feet can cramp up pretty bad. This just goes a long way to preventing that from happening. On each of these stretches, we're just probably going to hold them for about a 10 count or 10 seconds, and if you have a particular part of your body that's more tight than others, you probably want to spend more time with that. But again, work on it whenever it comes to that sequence. If you don't go, oh, my spine is really inflexible, don't jump to that first. Build from the floor up. So we move from the soles of the feet, and we want to stretch into the calf. I'm going to do nothing more than place my right heel on the mat, keeping my entire sole of the foot flat with the right foot. What I'm doing is I'm dipping my head down, and then from here I'm thinking about pushing my hip back over my heel. This will stretch the calf. It's a really, really tight, strong stretch for the calf. Pushing it back through, holding it for about a 10 count. Then I'm going to let that off. I'll place the left heel back, keep the left sole of the foot on the mat, and then dip my head down and push my hip back over that heel. So again, we've taken this in sequence from the soles of the feet, through the calf. There. Now we'll next drop in and hit the hamstring, pretty common stretch that people do all the time. It's nothing more than taking your left foot, placing alongside of the inner part of the thigh, keep your toes pointing towards the ceiling, and keep your legs straight. Just going to lean with your back straight over your right leg. Again, none of these stretches we're doing right now are necessarily revolutionary, something new, but it's the synergistic effect of putting them in the particular order we're prescribing to you. This is what's going to make the difference for you. Leaning in, hold these for about the 10 count. Then you switch it off, obviously. Same thing. Back straight, just hunching the back over. It's really not giving you a stretch on the hamstring at all. Keep the back straight and lean in. Hold that for about your 10 count. I'm going to keep most of these things a little bit less than 10. Just go through so we can describe the stretches for you so you can get down and getting your own workout together. You're moving, stretching the groin muscles. Again, just pretty much a straddle stretch. Spread the legs as wide as you can. You want to keep your toes pointed straight up and slightly back. Place yourself forward. Keep moving your pelvis forward until you can feel a comfortable stretch. Then set yourself down. Keep your back straight. And just lean forward comfortably. If you're going to go, hey, I can only lean forward 2 inches, that's good enough. Some people can lay their chest on the mat. Not one of those people. But at least you can get the stretch in. So we've got the soles of the feet, the calves, the hamstrings, we've got the groin muscles. Then from there, we've got to stretch the top of the legs. So we've got to hit the quadriceps. So what we're going to do here is place the insteps on the mat. Notice my toes are pointing back. I don't have my toes pointing to the outside. They're pointing back. Insteps are in the mat. I want to be able to spread my heels out so I can set my butt down to the mat. It's got to be set all the way down. If I'm not set up, this will put some unnecessary stress on my knees. If you find you're unable to sit your butt down between your heels, then you probably provide yourself a little bit of support and just stay there. Now it might take you a while until you can build up the flexibility to sit all the way down. Whenever you are able to sit down, if this is comfortable for you, move on to the next portion of the stretch, which would be to go ahead and lay all the way back. Be careful to keep your butt on the mat the entire way. If you find yourself starting to bow up, again, this is going to put unnecessary stress on the knees. Actually cause the ligaments to kind of give a little bit, have your knee joint pull away. Just relax, hold for about 10 seconds, and up. And I can't stress enough, if you cannot settle yourself down comfortably, to support yourself and go down to getting a good healthy stretch, and just keep the stretch there for yourself at that time. Okay. You stretch the top of the thighs. Now we're going to start moving through the spine. We got several exercises to start working the spine out. First will just be a general spinal twist. I'll place my left leg in front of me, step my right leg over the top, take my left arm, bring it around the outside of my right thigh, and then go back and grab my left leg. Bit of a pretzel position right here, and then try and twist and turn my body. Give you that profile and set it up again. Left leg extended, right leg step over, left arm around the outside of the thigh, and reach across and step my extended, and grab my extended left leg, and twist. You hold that for about 10 seconds. Give me a little bit of a rotation of the spine. Then you would switch off and reverse that process on the other side. Easy enough. I think most people, the main problem they have with this one is remembering how to put this whole pretzel together. All right, now with the spine, we're going to divide that into 3 parts. You've got your lower lumbar spine, you're going to have your thoracic spine, which lies in the middle, and then you've got your cervical vertebra that lies within the neck. So what we've got to do is have a stretch that hits all these areas. The first stretch we're going to hit in the lumbar spine is called a plow, or a stack position, real common for all grapplers. I'm actually going to rock back and try and keep my legs split and touch the toes or the balls of the feet to the mat back behind me, trying to keep my body relaxed the entire way. If I cannot touch my toes back behind me, I'll actually use my hands to supply some support to my hips. So I go back and touch the toes. Now, if this were not possible for me, it's perfectly acceptable to support my hips and just let the weight of my legs drag and create some stress, stretching on my spine. Let that drag back. And I would hold for 10. You're probably going to feel the stretch all the way through the spine, but primarily with the legs being split, you're going to feel it from about here to right about in here. Now, to hit that mid portion of the spine, the thoracic spine, we just discussed from around in here to here, and it will also hit the chest to some degree. You go into what's called a cat stretch. It's nothing more than I take my feet, I place the balls of my feet on the mat, my heels are together, my knees are spread out, about this far, and I'm moving down to looks like a prayer position or a praise position. The palms of my hands on the mat, I keep sliding out until I can touch my chest on the mat. Whenever I can do that, my chest goes to the mat while I'm trying to push my hips up high. As such, profile, it's not an attractive position, but it does hit necessary areas. Right in here. My chest is lying flat. Once I've got this, I think about raising my hips skyward. This will hit the thoracic area of the spine. Now, to hit the neck or the cervical spine, I'm going to go back to that plow or stack position, but this time instead of spreading my legs out, I'm actually going to keep myself tucked and try and touch the knees to the mat. So I roll back, attempt to bring the knees to the mat. I can use my hands to bring them in if I can. For those of you who are grapplers, you know how important, as unattractive as it is, how much you're going to need this position. Okay. Now once you have that one in, you're going to go back and start stretching out your chest, your pec area. Jamie, that stool, please. You can use any kind of, thank you, any horizontal surface to assist you on getting this stretch done. Do nothing more than kneel in front of a horizontal surface, fold your arms as such, lay them on that surface, then you're going to drop your neck, your head in between your arms, and just let your chest sag through. This will give a good, healthy stretch to all portions of the chest and a little bit more stretch on the back of the neck. Okay. From there, we will stretch out the shoulder region. Take my hands, place them on the mat behind me, palms facing, my fingertips facing away from me. And what I will do is dig my heels in the mat, and I'm going to slide my butt away, keeping my arms straight until I get a good, healthy stretch in the shoulders. Slide until I feel it. I would stop and hold. There's only one exercise to go, and that's actually to stretch more in the shoulder girdle, the rotator cuff, and also the triceps. You're actually going to have a stretch where you'll take your arms behind your back. A lot of you have seen this before. You're actually going to clasp your fingers behind your back and pull and hold the position. And of course, you reverse that on the other side. If you find that you can't make your fingers meet, and some people find they can do it on one side or not another, Jamie, that stick, please. Thank you. You can use a little bit of a cheating method here. Nothing wrong with that. Grab a hold of a stick. You can use a towel if you need to. Broom handle. Take it back. Grab as far in the stick as you can. And that way you can actually seesaw back and forth to some degree to allow yourself to get the same benefit of the stretch until you eventually build it up to where you're reaching this is a possibility for you. And again, you have to have all this flexibility with the shoulder girdle, particularly if you're throwing tons of punches. You're going to make sure you're keeping everything nice and tight, keep your rotator cuff well lubricated. And also if you're a grappler, you know you're going to be cranked up and twisted in some pretty terrible positions. Now that grappler's dozen, again, there's nothing necessarily new about any of those stretches, but it's how we put them together. It's the sequencing, the synergism, how they all will link together. And of course the synergy means the sum of the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. We put everything together. It's going to work so much better for you this way. Start from the bottom, work all the way up, and you're going to hit this at the beginning of each of your routines. And then after your workout, obviously, if you want to try and prevent soreness the next day, go through the dozen one more time. Let's look at some fun stuff now. We call this 8 to Hate. We've got a series of calisthenics here that are fighter specific, and again we've got them arranged in order for some synergism. I doubt you're going to encounter an exercise on here that you're going to go, oh, I've never seen that before in my life. What we're going to do is probably provide some pointers to you to perhaps improve your technique with doing the exercises, explain why we do them in a particular sequence, and then perhaps provide maybe one or two examples of how they have direct application to what it is to your fighting game. Because again, specificity is the whole key with the reason we're putting together this Gladiator program. There's nothing wrong with all sorts of running, swimming, cross-training, the weight training and stuff, but again, we're going to borrow an idea from Pedro Hizo from the UFC. He's talking about for his training regimen, he refers to runners run, swimmers swim, and fighters fight. So we find we need to get some exercise that mimic fighting motions as closely as possible. So again, specificity, and then chaining these things together in proper sequencing, adhering to the principle of synergism. And the first exercise we've got are going to be squats. I know Matt Fury's made popular these days with his combat conditioning. They're calling them Hindu squats, and I believe these have been used forever. I first ran across them forever ago in a martial arts encyclopedia. They were Hindus called them the Bitheks. The Hindu wrestlers did them high numbers and high repetitions. Now, all these exercises we're showing you will build strength. It's not going to be massive powerlifting strength. It's going to give you everyday functional strength, strength for your combat endeavors. It's going to give you muscular endurance like you've never dreamed of. And whenever you're watching these exercises being done, if you've never done some of these, particularly in the numbers and repetitions we're talking about, be prepared for a burn. I mean, you're not going to... just watching it, it's easy to discount them. Until you get out there and actually try these things, you'll be very surprised. We get people all the time. We have power lifters and everyone start going through this program, and they go, "Oh my God, this is just terrible." I mean, they have to run out there and grab the vomit bucket because this is just hard to do. So whenever we finish up the entire sequence and showing all the exercises, I'll give you some recommended repetitions and numbers to pull some of these things out. But again, first off, with the squats, it'll be nothing more than staying with my feet shoulder width apart. And whenever I'm going down, I am going all the way down in a deep squat. I raise my heels off the mat. I'll give you this full on first, and I'll give you a profile of it. Heels come off the mat. This is just the leg work so far. So I come up, I stay up on my toes, and settle back on the heels. So again, down, full squat, not bouncing at the bottom at all, so it's not going to be rough on my knees. Stay up on my toes, rise, up, squeeze up on the toes, heels back down. From the side, just the footwork, down, heels raise, all the way up still on the toes, and then squeeze the top and back down. Now there is some peculiar hand work that goes with this at the same time. When I'm going down, my hands will sweep back. I actually let my fingertips brush the mat, and then I swing them up in front of me. And as I rise up, what I'm thinking about doing is I turn my palms up and I think about squeezing my fist and pulling in, as if I'm grabbing someone and pulling in. It just provides a little bit of an extra thrust and burn, and sometimes it's something to think of. Get your mind off your legs if you start hitting high repetitions. So again, from the side with the hand work, I go down, sweep, up, pull. As such. It's a ridiculously simple looking exercise, but you start putting it together, the high numbers will be recommending to you. You're just going to have to try it for yourself and see how it works out. Now, direct combat application, I think I have to directly go into something right now to show you where you'd be doing something out of this, because it's pretty sure when the legs go, when you're fatigued, everything else goes. The legs is going to go first. You've got to have incredible endurance in the legs. This is where all your shooting is going to come from. Going in for your takedown, your punches and your strikes are all going to come off of your leg stability and your base from the legs. And then your grappling. This will also not just build the front of the quads, it's going to the inside as well. It's going to give you some extra special guard work. It's a very valuable exercise. Okay, now we're going to look at working the upper body now. Some people call these the Hindu push-up, the Chinese push-up, the judo push-up, or the Hindus actually call them the dand. What we're going to do is be placing your hands about a shoulder width apart on the mat, and your feet probably going 2 to 3 shoulder widths apart back behind you. And what you'll be doing from here is going to be sweeping all the way down as if you're touching your chin and your chest. On the mat, stay up on your toes, keep your knees off the mat, rest here, and then sweep back through, taking your elbows out from your body. Profile. Same position, hands shoulder width apart, feet 2 to 3 shoulder widths apart, sweep through, shoulders, elbows traveling from the body, and up, look high to the ceiling, and back through. Sweeping. Back, and through. Back, and through. Back, and through. Now, as far as direct application, beyond the fact that it's building up strength all the way throughout the shoulder girdle for your punches, all other strikes, your elbows and such, building the triceps for the pushing out portion of the punches and such, the pecs for and everything. It's also teaching proper hip through. Can I borrow you from over, Corey? Hip through. Just give me a turtle position, please. Hip through is going to be vital in your grappling game. We know that by taking the hips all the way through with this particular form of push-up, it is giving some flexibility to the spine. But in grappling, or as we know in the punching or kicking, you got to get your hips through and everything. At the end of the push-up, you'll notice your body is swept through here. If we can imagine my hands being down. But we know what is key and vital to turning people over or keeping people pressured on the mat is having the hips through. So if you notice, the end of the push-up looks very much like this hips through position that you would find in wrestling. The only difference here is I'd be applying my hands into a cross face and far ankle here. I'm going to turn you over once, Corey. So here, I put my hips through. It's the same motion as we have from the push-up. On your back, please. Turn your head. Switch for me. Same thing. My hip through. Listen to his breathing. Give me the, recite the alphabet for me.
A, B, C, D.
As soon as I take my hips through, as I would do at the end of this push-up, starts putting more pressure on this man. All right? The other thing is at the end of the push-up, we know that we're learning to build force out of the arms, putting everything on top of the arms from the way we're stacking your hips up. Give me a little bit of movement if you're giving you shrimping around. I am able to keep in position by riding my body weight directly on top of my hands as I would be finding this in the push-up. So not only is it building up the muscular strength and endurance, it's also giving you, thanks a lot, sir. It's also giving you a little bit of application of where you can be throwing this in on the mat, if that makes sense to you. Okay, the next one we're going to look at, we've already looked at how to strengthen the legs and the upper body. Got to look at strengthening the entire back of the body, the spine. So we're going to go into the back bridges. And when this is done, people automatically assume you're strengthening the neck on this one. Neck is actually playing a very small role in this particular game. Actually, where you're going to be feeling this is more along in your hamstrings, all the way through the glutes, particularly in the lower back, and all the musculature riding up the inside and outside of the spine. And again, this is going to strengthen out for your hip throughs, stronger in the punches, and obviously for all your bridging and shrimping motions you're going to need on the mat. So the bridge could be nothing more than back. What I'm going to do is rock up, not on the top of my head. That's a mistake. It's going to be actually bad for your cervical spine. I'm rolling all the way over, so it's either my hairline, the forehead, or even optimally the bridge of the nose that hits the mat. So I rock up into position, and then I would hold this. There's no need for me to give lots of rocking and swaying back and forth, but you can give a little bit of that. But the main thing you're doing is trying to stay in position and constantly arch your hips up to the sky. Me sagging them back makes this exercise not nearly as difficult. I want to push the hips up high, contract my buttocks the entire time. Gives a lot more intensity to the exercise. So again, it's rocking up, trying to touch the forehead or the bridge of the nose or at least the hairline onto the mat. You're staying off the top of the head. Again, this is strengthening all the way through the lower back, hamstring, and the glutes. Very little in the neck, actually. Again, I'm sure we can see the applications are going to be very similar to taking the hips through, as we did earlier, and it can also be used for all your bridging techniques. Let me borrow you for a moment, Corey. Now, whereas a slight oompa, as I say in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or buck and roll, where they're only bucking off on the shoulders, does not give me near the height as if I'm able to rock all the way up on the back of the neck or as far as the head. I'm able to get a much more ballistic and dynamic bridge to take him out. Let's also give me a crossbody, your legs this way, head on top. Here, turn. Again, same thing, by having a big bridge and being able to hold these for long periods, just not these short bursts of a bridge, be able to keep them. Allows me to take my hips and spine and rock them through in positions that I'm normally not used to moving them through, but this back bridge really very helpful for that. Now, we got to move on. We got the back. We do have to build the neck because we do know that when you're on the mat, people are going to want to choke and bring you out. I really haven't seen that many neck exercises that's going to stop you from really getting choked out. You just need good form on that, how to stop it, but you do need good neck musculature for us to receive better able to withstand the shock and impact of some blows coming in from your strikes. You're also going to need it to, when you're moving around, for some stability. If anyone's done any mat work, you're aware of how often you're going to have that crick in your neck for 2 or 3 days afterwards. This particular exercise will start taking that away, give you a little bit more foundation. It's actually the front neck bridge, which a lot of people would assume that's going to be strengthening up the front of the neck musculature, the sternocleidomastoid muscles and such. This is actually hitting the back of the neck, which you would assume the back bridge would do. It's nothing more than placing my feet 2 to 3 shoulder widths apart, placing the top of my head this time on the mat, and then just holding the position, taking my arms out of the equation, and then trying to stack my hips up over the top of my head. I can do this just by coming up on top of my toes. By keeping my feet away and pushing through, my head's actually in an unnatural position. I'm trying to get more of my weight directly on top of the head. right in here. Really all there is to it. Show you perhaps one combat application beyond the facts we already know. Receiving a little bit of a shock absorber effect when you have a stronger neck musculature. We've already been in Corey place on your back, head here, feet here. By having stronger neck musculature, one thing we say, we're receiving the blows, it's a lot easier to withstand people trying to put on the neck cranks. You're able to burst out these things better, and your wrestling is going to give you better duck under. It can also give you the ability to do what's just called head riding. If I'm up here trying to pin this guy down, and he's been really good about shrimping and keeping my hands from being in a good position to keep him in, and he's starting to bring a knee through, it's not allowing me to get a good hip through pressure. Again, this is just one application. I actually go to what's called a head ride, just because I got faith in what my musculature of my neck can do. Let's put the head through the center of the chest and around top body here. So be bringing the shrimp the knee through and keep some squirm. Okay? So you see, relatively hands-free, just by having faith in your neck, I can pressure him through the mat to a large degree. Thanks a lot. Let's step out for a moment. Move on to the next one. We've done the legs, upper body, done the back, we've done the neck. We knew we need to go ahead and take a look at the abs now. Crunches, obviously, are what we're going to be using here. But what we've got is we've got 10 different foot positions we're going to run the crunches through, so these will actually highlight and accent different aspects of the abdominal musculature. One thing we've got to do here on these crunches is we're going to show you proper arm positioning on this. Just not going to have our hands here or here. All the way through the 10 positions, our arms stay in one position. It's going to be as such. I'm going to turn, reaching behind as if I'm trying to touch my shoulder blades. This is the position here. Here. What this does, it actually cradles my neck, gives me a little bit of a cushion, and also placing it back here will add more, a little bit more weight for me. It's hard for me to pull up, and a little more resistance, and also will prevent me from having the ability to give so much of the momentum with my elbows out free to the side to pop me up. So when I'm laying back, as with all crunches, what you're trying to think about doing is you're going to keep your upper shoulders off the mat the entire time. I'm going to be thinking about taking my lower ribs, and I'm thinking about contracting my musculature so as if I can make them touch the top of my hip bones. So it's going to be lower ribs to pelvis the entire way. So without the hand work in, I'm just thinking about this kind of contraction. I'm not going far at all. Just right in here. Okay. Now we know what the hand work would be in the entire way. Now we talked about these 10 different foot positions. Go ahead and show those to you. The first will be knees together, toes together, heels out. What I would do from here is then give you my repetitions. So it's knees together, toes together, heels out. When I hit my next set, it's going to be knees apart, soles of the feet together. Again, same hand position, same concept whenever I'm doing the crunching. Next position mimics the first position, so which was toes together, heels apart, knees together. We just take our legs up to the 90-degree angle. Whenever I'm doing this, though, I'm squeezing my knees together tight the entire way and concentrating about squeezing the toes in, taking the heels out. This extra squeeze in here is adding a little bit more to the lower abs. Crank out my repetitions here. Now, the next position actually mimics the second one. I was here, I take this to the sky, and I'm squeezing my feet in at the same time that I'm doing the crunch positions. Switch to here. So far we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next position will be the legs in a piked position, straight up, my repetitions. Then when I have them in a straddle position, just wide as I can, take my repetitions. My next leg set would be right leg extended, 6 inches off the mat. Left leg cocked at 90-degree angle, hit my repetitions, and the neck position just mirrors that. Now the final two, I keep my arms in the same position, but I rock all the way into my side. I'm going to hit the external obliques and doing the same thing. I'm thinking about taking the floating rib to the hip bone. My hands are in position. Think about just contracting. Don't worry if your upper body's coming off the mat at all. It's just the contraction of the muscle that you're looking for. Okay, we're not going for the rock hard solid abs of steel. That can definitely happen for you. We're just making sure you're providing better coverage for your body when you're receiving your strikes and give you a little bit more. Remember, your abdominal musculature is the hinge of your body for throwing your strikes and moving through all your groundwork. Let's look at the 10 positions again. We've already got the hand work down. So again, we've had, this is 1, toes together, knees together, heels out. 2, soles of the feet together. 3, toes, knees together, heels out, 90 degrees. Soles of the feet together, knees out. We got legs up, piked, straddled, 1 extended, 1 at 90 degrees. Switch. And of course, we've got oblique and switch to the opposite side. Now from there, we will move on to our pull-up set. Okay, now that we come to the pull-up portion of the 8 to 8, we've got 4 different types of pull-ups we're going to do, and I'm going to just demonstrate to you the proper way we do these, and then the suggested repetitions are for your beginner. Do 6 of each, then you can move up to 8, 10 of each, and if you're really feeling good a particular day, maybe 12 of each. But really, top out about 10 of each, so it'll give you 40 pull-ups in one day. When you're doing these things, you want to come down to total full extension on a pull-up, because we're not just trying to build up the pulling motions for a portion of the fight. By giving the full extension, we're actually also strengthening the intercostal muscles as well, which allows us to withstand a little bit more impact when we're taking some body shots. Of course, the first pull-up we're going to do, we're going to work with just a wide grip. It gives us a little extra pull on the intercostals. So from here, pull all the way up, slow and controlled all the way through. Slow and controlled all the way through. And then we would go to, it's not narrow pull-ups, but just a shoulder width apart. What we're trying to get here is mimicking someone's trying to lock on a shoulder lock, whatever. You've got to have the ability to be able to pull your arms back into position. This also kind of mimics pulling the hands back, retracting from a punch as well. So it's really, remember, this is not aesthetics, this is for function. So again, shoulder width apart, all the way up, full stretch at the bottom, all the way up, full stretch at the bottom. On your next set, just standard chin-ups with your palms facing into your body. Same thing. All the way up, full extension, all the way up, full extension. Your final pull-up set will be placing your hands in what some people call the commando grip, but we're not pulling ourselves up, we're bringing our head on the other side of the bar. We actually want to arch our back backwards and think about taking, if we could, touching our sternum to the bar. Probably not going to make it. That's what you're going for. This is really more, gives you more specificity to mimicking how your arms actually do retract in a punch, or mimicking how you're pulling someone directly into your body. So if you just watch how the body arches back all the way through, up, then full extension down, arch back, full extension, arch back, and full extension. And then you get your pull force, 4 ways to do the pull-ups, and strengthen all your pulling muscles that you're going to need for the fight. Okay, we're going to take a look at working our grip work now. We've got to work some grip fatiguing. We do the grip fatiguing after we do our pull-up set, simply because it makes pretty much sense. If we've already blown our grip out, there's no way to hang on to that bar anymore. So we've got 2 ways for you to work with your grip. You're actually going to have one of 2 pieces of equipment, or both. You want to kind of alternate on different days just to give yourself a different feel. One is just a common standard hand grip, or you can get yourself to collie sticks. It can be broom handles. Optimally, really, it would be some kind of heavy pipe if you want them. I'll show you what we're going to work with here. With the hand grip, you're going to do nothing more than you're going to work with the standard grip with the open end towards the bottom of the little finger, and you're thinking about squeezing from the little finger up. You think, okay, so what's this going to do? Where we're working the grip fatiguing, if anyone's done any kind of grappling at all knows that sometimes you can have the most beautiful choke sunk in or whatever, and you got someone holding out on it, and if they can hang out for a little bit on you, you feel the most incredible lactic acid building up through your forearms, and just the hands just go away. There's no way to hang on to this anymore. So we're just trying to make sure that your hands can weather the storm and get you through and get to that choke, hang on to the sticks a little bit longer, just hang on to whatever limb you're hanging on to at that time. So first I would run through some multiple repetitions with the hand grip, just putting the squeeze in the entire time, thinking about squeezing from the little finger up. I'm not trying to go fast with these at all. I would put in about 100 repetitions, slow. At the end of that 100, then I would squeeze in and give myself a slow 100 count. Feels a lot harder. I mean, when you just look at this thing, oh, I can do that. Pick up a hand grip, give it a shot. It's a lot harder than you'd think. Once you've got that done on that side, flip it around. Have the open end towards the top of the hand, squeezing from the index down. Put in your 100 repetitions from here. Once you've done that, at the end, after the 100 repetition, squeeze and hold for 100 at that point. Of course, if you've got a pair of hand grips, you work on both hands at the same time, kind of getting a little bit of economy for your time going, get done quicker. But this will really get your grip out there. You're going to be feeling like your forearms are on fire. Now, if you don't want to use the hand grip, you don't have the hand grip, or you prefer what I'm getting ready to show you here. Again, these are collie sticks. They're a little bit light here, but I prefer to use some iron bars if you've got that kind of thing. You're going to grip 2 equal lengths of stick, pipe, whatever you've got, and you're going to grip them for all you're worth. Hang on to them as tight as possible. What you're going to be doing, you're going to be just gripping these like you're trying to pulverize them the entire time. You get yourself a timer, and I keep my elbows bent while I'm doing this, but I'm squeezing, and I'm just giving it this motion here the entire time, like you're using trying to make a propeller. I keep my arms bent 90 degrees the entire time. Squeezing, tight as I can. I'm going to crush this stick into splinters for an entire minute. At the end of that minute, then I just extend my arms, continue on with the exact same motion for the next minute, but I got to be squeezing tight the entire time. So at the end of that, you've got 2 minutes, and you'll be surprised again just watching this exercise going from here to here, how much this is going to work the forearm. And again, I can't say enough, you're squeezing, you're not doing this lightly. This has to be done with the squeeze. This is nothing. This is just playing and fanning yourself with a stick. You've got to be squeezing the entire time. Really concentrate that grip all you've got. Some people prefer this over the hand grip because it can mimic more what it feels like, some of the twisting and turning when an opponent's trying to pull away from you the entire time. So you've got your hand grip, then you've got your sticks. Now we'll move on to the last of the 8 to 8. Let me go ahead and slide these out of the way, which is going to be your jump squats or your power squats. We know fighting is primarily an anaerobic endeavor. It's anaerobic over aerobic most of the time. You can go out and run for hours and miles if you want to. I think that's good. I think that's great. But most of the time a fight, street fights, if it's not over in about 10 seconds, something's gone horribly wrong. But we do know if you're fighting for competition, for NHB, there's still some moments of, there's some aerobic areas in there, but it's still primarily anaerobic. There's going to be lots of burst in there where you just don't have access to oxygen. And jump squats can give you the feeling of doing wind sprints, and you don't ever have to leave the room if you don't want to. Jump squat will be nothing more than you coming all the way down, touching your fingertips to the mat, keeping your spine straight, and then you're not trying to take your knees tucked to your chest. You're just trying to rise up. You can leave your hands pointing down and just shove off as high as you can. Off your calves, and then dropping back down into your next repetition. I'm going to demonstrate these and go ahead and give you an idea of how you're going to work these. They're tough. I would recommend if you can put in about 100 a day, and you can break those up however you want. You can be break them up into 10 sets of 10, 425s and 250s, whatever. You want to get to a point, though, really if you're doing 2 sets of 50, that's pretty stiff. And then you want to start playing the high end of the game, start trying to put in 100 straight. That's tough the entire way. Just talk about some breath management here. Right now I'm just going to kind of crank out, do maybe just 10, kind of see what it looks like. I'm coming back down, just touching my fingertips to the mat each time, and trying to get a lot of springiness in the legs and in the calves. And then we'll go through and talk about some repetitions we can do in the previous calisthenics in the 8 to 8. So again, come down, touch, up, touch, 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 touch. Like I said, it's not rocket science, but it'll get the job done. Okay, easy enough. Now let's talk about some of the repetitions. Go back all the way to the squats or the bithecs. I would recommend beginning level. I'm going to assume that you're already doing some training of some sort. Start out with doing 100 a day, 5 days a week. Go to the push-ups, throw in about 50 a day. Whenever we're doing these things, though, you don't stop. There are no sets. You can't go. On the jump squats, the only thing where you've got any kind of set going on. Squats, do them till your reps are through. Push-ups, do them till your reps are through. If you hit number 30, 50 is tougher than you think. You hit 30 and you're thinking, I can't do anymore. You can rest. This isn't a rest, not a rest. This isn't a rest. This is a rest position right here. You stay right here. You can take a hand off the mat if you want to shake it out a little bit. When you start doing repetitions up around 100 or in 150, you would be doing a lot of this. But never take the weight off. You got to train yourself in the fight. It's going to give you some, build up your mental ability to kind of take yourself through the pain. As long as it's giving you the endurance here, it's giving you the endurance here as well. So, again, to begin with, 100 on the squats, 50 in the push-ups. I would take the back neck bridge for about 1 minute to begin with. Front neck bridge, 1 minute to begin with. When you're doing your crunches, I would take 10 repetitions at each of the 10 positions, giving you a total of 100. On your pull-up set, I would take 6 of each. You're going to get a total of 24 pull-ups out of that. And we just discussed about doing the 100 reps on the grip. We've already got the reps down on the using the sticks and the reps down on using the jump squats. Now, of course, you're going to keep going to your different level. You can dicker and play around with these numbers as you see fit. If you want to start going higher, I would recommend perhaps picking out a different day of the week to have one exercise that went a little bit higher than the other. For example, let's say we'll do 250 squats on a Monday, and perhaps we'll do 100 or 125 of the push-ups on a Tuesday. We'll hold each neck bridge forward and back 3 minutes each on those. Maybe take your crunches into the 200-300 arena. That way you're always playing around, keeping yourself a little bit of a different shot going in the body. The main thing is not to spend all your time on having to do the conditioning for your fight. We're trying to give you an efficient workout that hits with specificity what it is you're doing, the actual sports you're in, and the synergism of it, building everything where it ties together, fatiguing each muscle group as you go along, and get this over with quickly so you can spend all your time on what you really want to do, which is to be training in the first place. So are you training just to be working out, or are you training to actually get the fight done? So we're looking for the fight. So with that in mind, just you can sit there and mix and match the numbers yourself. If you want to start adding weight to it, get yourself a weight vest if you want to. Just grab a backpack and throw a few books in there, and that'll change the equation a little bit there as well. We're going to look at another workout you can put together with the sandbag. The bread and butter of the gladiator system, of course, is going to be the grappler's dozen and the 8-to-8. Occasionally, though, if you're thinking, I'm getting a little bit bored with this, you want to pop over to something else for a few days, or you can use a sandbag workout in addition to the gladiator on the same days if you want to, if you're feeling extra vicious to yourself at that particular day. Sandbag, you can construct these yourself. Just going to have an inner line with your sandbag and leaving the original bag that it came in, and then you want to get some canvas, burlap. You use a duffel bag. Here, there's nothing more than taking like the leg from some jeans and then tying this tight. And now the weights you want to use, typically you're going to say if you're a lightweight, start out with a 25-pound bag. We're going to be using today. If you think you're middleweight, 35 pounds. If you're heavyweight, go with the 45-pound bag. The reason we prefer working with a sandbag over using just standard weights is because it's awkward to hang on to, and it's a little bit more bulky, and this awkwardness makes it have a little bit more of a live feel. Feels a little bit more what it's like whenever you're actually handling another human being. So there's actually going to be 12 exercises with the sandbag workout. Some people call this a 12 by 12. We're going to show you, demonstrate each of the 12 exercises. It's called 12 by 12 because you would actually do each exercise 12 times, and if you can just run through it one circuit, and again, if you're feeling particularly vicious or up to it, you can keep running through that 12 by 12 as much as you want to, or you can do it once, run off and do some of your technique enhancement rounds, run back, grab the sandbag again, and work it again. It's just for the days you don't have time to put in all the repetitions that you have to do in the 8-to-8. It's a good substitute right here. Let me bring Corey in here and we'll start running through all 12 of these exercises. Go ahead and set yourself up. The first is a bridge press. It's nothing more than assuming the back bridge position we discussed, and then from there just performing a standard bench press from there. As you see, he's over on the hairline, not on the top of the head, moving slow and just doing your standard bench press. Just like it sounds like, bridge press. Easy enough. Go ahead and bring yourself down. Stand up. Get a series here. It's the hack squat. Hack squat is nothing more than reaching between your legs, holding one hand in front, one hand in back. Actually come in with almost a half squat position. Again, you would run through 12 repetitions of that. We're not going to hit all 12 on any of these, just trying to let you get the idea of what's going on. Next, he's got tricep extension, holding the bag back behind the neck. Let's go ahead and turn you off the side. There you go. And just extending straight up. There you go. Working the triceps. Good. After your tricep extension, bring the bag up in front of your chest. Go into standard squats. On these squats, since this is not a heavy weight, he's going to be able to take these all the way down, raise the heels off the mat, just like we did in our free squats whenever we were doing the gladiator and the 8 to 8. All the way down, all the way up. From there, he can move into his upright rows. He can grip the sides of the bags. Now, on the rows, he'll be trapping his elbows out to the side, and he'll also be putting his hips forward. He's not trying to bring this all the way up into the chin. If you're always trying to bring this up the chin in a standard upright row, you'll start playing hell with your shoulders after a while. Just trying to lift, put the hips into it, almost the lifting you get when you're doing a body lock on someone, getting ready to send them down to the mat. From the upright rows, we're going to be moving off to the back squats, which is nothing more than holding the bag behind you. Now, this will throw your weight off a little bit sometimes. First few times you find this, you may find yourself stumbling forward. So you're going to go down as low as you can and bring it back up. You see, it makes him want to rock back on his heels on this one. It's hard to be able to get up on your toes. So it's for your quads and a bit of a balance thing. You're going to be finding your feet trying to get some purchase on the mat, trying to keep your base underneath you. He'll move from the back squat. He's going to clutch the bag to his chest and move the jump squats. Some people call it, when you're doing a weighted squat, some people call them Zimmers after the wrestling coach. You're going to jump. Same technique we use in our jump squats in the 8 to 8. Pretty explanatory. Let's move off now. Take a look at the bent rows. Bend over, legs about 2 shoulder widths apart. Keep his head up, can travel his elbows up to the side, and keep pulling all the way up the chest. He's got that for the bent row. He can pull this bag back to his chest and go into the calf raises. From the side, it's pretty much what it sounds like, all the way up. And again, there's no break between these repetitions. You imagine doing all 12 of these things with the 12 repetitions in one continuous fashion. From there, he's going to move into a front press. He's taking the bag at the chest level, pushing it straight overhead, working the shoulders and the triceps again. Then he'll move from there to behind the neck press. Same thing, pushing it straight up. Looks similar to the tricep extension. The triceps are used, but we're still working on the shoulder. And then last but not least, he's actually going to curl with it. Standard curls to bring the bag up. Again, 12 exercises, 12 reps, top to bottom. You hit your bridge press, get your hack squat, tricep extension, squats, upright rows. You got your back squats. You got your jump squats, you got your bend rows, calf raises, front press, behind the head press, and then you've got your curls. Anyway, it's a good way to shock the system out, kind of whenever you're getting bored with one exercise regime, jump off to something else, but still always run back into your gladiator, because that's going to give you the primary muscular endurance. But this is, Samag's a great way to shake up the schedule a little bit. Okay, here's a few other exercises for you, kind of extra credit exercises if you want. Still yet, the main 8 to 8 and the grapplers does are going to be your the foundation of all your system here. And then you want to get right into working your techniques and your tool enhancement. But you still want to keep shocking your anaerobic system. We got a few more exercises for you. And then we're going to show you something we call the ground round, which will put together some basic mobility drills on the ground. Put on a 3-minute timer, and you can have one round of working down there for it. First drill we're going to show you is called a push-up punch countdown. What would happen here is the person drilling would drop down, give 1 push-up, stand up, throw 1 punch, drop 2 push-ups, 2 punches, all the way up to 10, and then walk it back down. Okay, when you do that, you end up having done a few hundred push-ups and thrown a ton of punches here. We're just going to kind of take it up to about 5 reps and drop it. That way you can get an idea of how we're looking at here. You ready? Come on. You got it. Nice job, nice job. Okay, you pretty much get the idea. You run through that, you can be working your punches, working fatiguing the chest even more by throwing in these push-ups, and you never really get a chance to catch a breath anywhere through here. Great for the anaerobic capacity, and really mimics a lot of times what you're going to feel like in the fight. Another thing a little more strenuous than that we call shooting stars. What will happen here is a star jump is nothing more than look like a Van Halen jump. You're going to jump up to a split kick like you're trying to touch your toes, which nobody can do really perfectly. Just do what you can. You'll jump up, do one star jump, one punch, two jumps, so on. Same pattern we did before. Walk it up to 10, then walk it all the way back down to 1. Here we're just going to walk it up to 5 only. So first off, the star jump looks nothing more than that kind of position like that. Ready? 1, 5. Excellent. Breathe. Breathe. Nice. As you can see, this is really going to push the lung capacity through the roof there. A couple other exercises. This would be down on the mat. Kind of give you a little bit more of a feel of getting some mobility. We call this one Spider-Man. It's nothing more than you moving around the mat, staying on your hands and knees the entire time. You can't drop a knee down on the mat. You can't come to a squatting position to rest out. And you can put this on for maybe 1 3-minute round or a few 3-minute rounds. And it's just like some of the other things in the 8 to 8. It's very deceptive looking. I'm going to have to move through that. It's going to be nothing more moving through this position the entire way, crawling around, moving through a hip heist position while he's walking. And if you keep this fairly active and never kind of stop and come to a standstill, you'll be surprised. It looks like it'd be easy. By the time you start hitting the second minute of the round, it really starts to tell on you. Now, its applicability just comes to the fact that you're just getting more used to navigating your body through some mat work. Okay, nice job. Okay. One more drill on the mat, kind of involved here. It's called, we already alluded to it earlier, it's called the ground round. It's where we take several basic movement positions on the mat and we kind of chain them together. So what I'm going to do is demonstrate each position and then show where its applicability comes in, and then we're going to put the entire sequence in chain solo so you can see how to put this thing together. Again, you would put this onto your timer and run through the entire 3-minute round. The first thing we have, the movement, is called a shoulder arch, which is if I could just have you back here for a moment before I show this move, have you load up. Arch is nothing more than keeping your feet up underneath your butt. And I'm thinking about arching up over one shoulder, over my right shoulder, and reaching far with my left hand. Arch the hips up and back down, arch over the other shoulder. Hip arch, okay? You mount up. We're just trying to get used to doing arching in the extreme. Direct applicability here is I'm going to be arching, moving up to one side. Okay, so we see, off for a moment, direct applicability to what we're doing in the mat. So again, it's just solo, arch, reach, arch, and reach. Then we would just move into standard shrimping or jackknifing, depends on who's calling it what. We're going to call it a shrimp. The motion is we're digging my feet into the mat, and what I'm trying to do here is I'm going to be turning onto my side and taking my hips out in the same line with my head, as such. So again, dig, hips out in line with the head. Same time I'm doing this, both my hands are actually doing a pushing motion at the same time. So I turn on my side, my hips shrimp in line with my head, and I push with my hands. When I'm doing this shrimp, I can have both feet dug into the mat, or I can have a single foot dug into the mat. Really doesn't matter. Just kind of, I would experiment with both, get you used to having different contacts with the mat surface the entire way. Now where this comes into play, or if I can have a crossbody, just one moment up. Whenever he's laying crossbody on me, I get both my hands into his hips, dig my feet in, get on my side, and I shrimp away, creating room to bring a knee through or actually disengage completely. So lay crossbody. That's where the shrimp would come into play there. Let's take a look at a reverse shrimp. What I'm going to do on the reverse shrimp, again, I'm going to bump on my side, but instead of my hands pushing away, they start out low, and I'm scooping them back over my head. While I'm scooping them over my head, I'm digging my heels in the mat, and I'm pulling myself towards my feet. This direction here. So again, hands here, I'm going to be doing a scoop and digging with the heels, as such. So when this comes into play, go top body on me, lateral press. I bump up for a moment, I bump on my side, a little scoop, and dig myself out. Top body. by using the reverse shrimp, get myself out of this lateral press or top body hold position here. Next position we'll work with is called coming flat to base. What I will do here, show it solo and show where it applies with the man on top. Bump on my side, my far hand or my top hand, and come out straight on the mat. My bottom arm is going to reach out and go flat on the mat. Then what I'm going to do is the weight's on my top foot. I'm going to step in line with the hand that I have out extended flat. Going flat to the mat. So get on my side, reach, go flat. This is like a speed bump hit. I leave this hand in the way. When I'm trying to roll over, I have my weight. Then if I have an opponent on top of me, I'm rolling over this speed bump. It's going to be hard for me to move. Hand on the hip, reach, weight here, come in line with my hand. Just like that. Here, here, and here. I'll show where the applicability is here. Go ahead and go cross body. Give me some weight. I bump, put my hand in his hip, get the speed bump out, and go in line with his head. By leaving my hands up for just a moment, stay there. By my arm straight into him, he can't directly come back into my body. So back on top, try and come in. I'm able to stonewall him out as I'm coming up to my base. Now, directly out of that coming to flat, I got to show you how to get up to base. Put my hands in, took the speed bump out, stepped out of position. Coming to base is nothing more than coming to this knee up position. But there's a way to do that properly. I would take one arm and one leg on the same side, dig them together. Take the elbow into the knee, trying to cover up all holes where someone could reach through, find a way to start turning me over. Once I've done that, I just don't duplicate that on the other side. I've already got this knee and elbow hidden over here. What I'm going to do is use this hand to push my body back and get my hips over the top of my legs. So, again, I tuck the elbow inside the thigh, push my hips back over my legs. On top and back for a moment, Corey. You see, if I just try and push up directly, he's going to find all sorts of holes to put in his hooks at any particular time. So by going here first, I've covered up that hole. Now if I try to do the same thing on the other side, he's already going to be able to hook this hole up. So I'm pushing my hips back over my feet, which already starts his weight coming off the back of me. Look what we got so far. Arch, arch, shrimp, shrimp. Then we've got reverse shrimp, coming flat from base, up. Then we'd hit it out on the other side to here. And once up to flat to base, so roll myself back down to the mat. I'm going to work what's called a shoulder sprint, which is just arching up, getting my hips off the mat, and I'm working my shoulders in independent motion. I'm going to be using these as feet. So I'm up, I walk with my shoulders and my feet. And then I can reverse that and walk in the opposite direction. Now let's see where this comes into application. He's got me mounted. He's deep underneath my armpits, making this hard for me to start getting out of the mount. So if I rise up and go with a quick shoulder sprint, this gives me the room to get my hands where I need them to be and get this guy up and out of the way. So the ability to shrimp in the reverse direction, if we assume, Corey, if you could just kneel right here, mimic a wall, octagon wall for me. If I've been plastered against this wall and I can't go any further, what I need to do is learn to be able to walk myself out in the opposite direction to give me some room to work from here. So hopefully you see the shrimping is very, very useful. Thank you for just a moment. I hardly see anyone doing this shoulder sprint, but you got to have this in your repertoire. Again, arch, arch, shrimp, shrimp, reverse, reverse, and you just one flat to base, flat, up to base, back down, shoulder sprint or walk, and then you got your reverse. Then from here we're just doing shoulder rolls. I'm going to roll over one shoulder and back, other shoulder and back. Then from here I'm coming up to what is called a penetration step, which is just me keeping my chest, my shoulders not going beyond my knee, but my chest down low, my elbows in tight, putting this knee to the mat, elbows in, stepping again, as such. Elbows in, chest doesn't go past the knee. If my elbows are out, I'll get hooked. If I'm going past the knee, I'll be snapped down into takedown. As such. One last motion on the ground round will be doing the hip heist, which is shooting my hips up, coming up on one hand, keep my hips up as high as I can, then stepping over. Back to the other side, hand down, hips up, and shooting. Applicability, behind, seat belt, gripping on the seat belt, hands here. This takes my hips out and away, and then we split them open right here. Other side, right in front, here, up, hip heist, split them open. We can start hitting the wrestling switches, whatever we need to do. The whole round together. Arch, arch, shrimp, shrimp, reverse shrimp, reverse shrimp. Flat the base, take the speed bump out, head is in line. Notice I'm coming right in line with this hand. I do not come out at an angle. All the way in line, hide the elbow, push back over base. From here I'm going to go directly into our sprinting, up, reverse, into position, roll, roll, up, penetration, spin it, penetration, and then hip heist. Over, down, up, and over. And there in a nutshell is how to do a ground round. Is constantly treat that as a one continuous loop. So you go all the way through that for a 3-minute round. Okay, well that's pretty much the Gladiator conditioning program as we've got it set for you right now. Hopefully you went through, took a look at it. Again, I would really encourage you to adhere to following the specific order of the exercise, particularly in the Grappler's Dozen as far as the flexibility goes, and the 8 to 8. And then whenever you happen to do the sandbag or the 12 by 12 exercises, follow that in the direct order. Now everything else as far as the ground round, the Spider-Man, shooting stars, whatever, these are just meant to be things to add a little bit of spice to your workout along the way. And as far as playing, tweaking with the numbers, how many repetitions is something you want to do, that's up to you. Just push it as far as you want your development to go. But the main thing when you're doing all these exercises is to make sure you're trying to get something that's got some economy with your time. You're going to get a workout done, a really good burn, getting your anaerobic capacity up within 30-35 minutes, and leaving you the rest of the time training to get down to what you're supposed to be doing, what you're supposed to be fighting, getting your striking and your weapons and your groundwork. So we've given you the tools now. It's up to you to use them. Thanks for watching. Okay, here we go. We're going to take a look at our bonus feature here with this Gladiator conditioning. What we're going to be doing in this segment is trying to run you through our basic maintenance program. Like if you refer back to the main body of the material, you're going to find out the exact form and all the particular exercises we do. And then also if you take a look at the workbook, we're going to give you tons of permutations, a way to take some of these standard exercises, change those up, as well as give you several other ways to do them, as far as giving you different repetitions and different exercise sequences and such. What we're going to be doing right here, though, is we're going to assume we're taking the standard maintenance program, the 100 squats, the 50 dive bombers, and so on, and run them straight through as a sequence where we're doing them together. And hopefully you're going to find by doing these, you're going to find some places in there where it's okay to come to rest periods, but these rest periods are still rather intense in the sense that you can't, like, for example, when you're doing the dive bombers, you don't put your knees on the deck because you're trying to duplicate what the fighting conditions are. So we'll be going through these together. I'll be talking through some of these with you, and we're going to attempt to run these things straight through as a sequence. Hopefully you'll appreciate that, so we're kind of working along together on these things. And we'll have fun with it, and just so you know, like, what are we, a mile and a half here in the sky here? Let's see what the altitude does with it. So we'll start with the first of the eight to eight, which are the standard Hindu squats. We'll get going. We're just doing 100 of these things. I'm going to start out, probably give you about 50 of these facing, and then we're going to give you and start turn these things off in profile. So we go down. Remember, we stay in our toes. Notice the arms swing all the way through. Helps loosen up the shoulders as you move. I'm going to go with an audible breathing pattern. There's 10 right there. Hear me scrape my fingers at the bottom. Lets me know that I've bottomed out, not bouncing off the bottom, controlling the momentum. One quarter through, that's 25, 26 right there. And 30. And 40. Keep it breathing going. Be audible with it. Reminds you to stay working on the breathing. You want to avoid what I'm doing, which is trying to talk through the exercise. Halfway home. Give your profile. We're still working. Those heels are up. Losing base. Bring it back. At 70. There's 85. Be sure to notice the area on chapter and breath control, which is in the workbook. Talks about these audible patterns, how they apply to the fight as well. It's 90. Guess what? You're done. Don't walk away. But when you do these exercises, don't give yourself too much time off in between. When to breathe, get re-regulated. We're trying to keep that heart rate and the breathing rate high. We've got to run right into our dive bombers or our full arcing Hindu push-ups. A lot of people do Hindus only coming through the positive motion. We add the return just to make it a little harder. Get some water if you need it. Live time. Again, check out the area on breath control to remind you why we're making these curious sounds. Get position, shoulder width apart, feet 2 or 3 shoulder widths apart, and hit. If you're already okay with dive bombers, there'll be lots of rest periods in here because this is an intensely hard exercise. If you're just doing the standard one sweep through in your arc, which is the way most people do Hindus, which is here and back, that's 1. So when they say they're doing 50 Hindu push-ups, when we do the reverse motion, unlike we've instructed you in the main body, you're doubling the work that everyone else is doing, which is where you want to be, and really work the shoulders and chest and the arms and all planes of motion, all ranges of motion. And if you're already good at these, you can try and do some pre-fatiguing, as if these aren't hard enough. Maybe pop out, where my friend's been forcing me to do some of these. Hit a few, maybe one arms. One. Two. It's 5 and rin. Let's pop over. Get in, hands down. We're already 5 to the good on the way to 50. And take a few slow. And 10. Again, I'll give you some profiles in a bit. At 16, we're going to take a break at 20. Notice what a break is. No knees down. You can take one hand off the mat if you want. Shake it out. Fling back behind your back if you need to. You've not stopped your momentum. These still count. If I put a knee down, bad news. Let's go some more. That's 25. Take another rest period, you're still new to it. 25, halfway point. Go fingertips momentarily. Starting to suck now. Let's go down, hit 26. And one more to make 30. Good, let's go profile. Over halfway home. It's easy now. Altitude is lovely. Let's go 35. Shake it out. Again, trying to run all these exercises back to back, because in the fight you can't do a lot of... Oh, time out, hold on. Need to breathe. Kick my ass in a minute. Let's do it now. Let's do 5 more. Hit 40. We're going to sprint those. 40. 10 to go. Shake them out. You're going to find sometimes you might have to readjust. Get a lot of sweat going, like in here. They turn the air off for you, turn the hot lights on, because they love us. Get some sweat going down there, you start sliding around a little bit. That's okay. Here we go. We're at 40. See what we got in us, guys. With me. 41. 42. 43. 44. 45. 46, 47, 48, 49, 1, okay, 50, nicely done. Stand up, don't put your knees down yet. Don't look tired. Always lie to yourself, lie to your opponent. Let's pick up some of that water. Let's not stop this tape, we can go. Breathe, like I said, this is the only time you get to breathe. Moving in between each of these exercises. We're taking no more than a minute in between. Get re-regulated. See, it's okay to huff and puff in between. I'm doing it, always will. We had to take the label off so we wouldn't get sued. It's time for those neck bridges. Back neck bridges first. We're going to make them a little bit harder than usual. We're not supposed to be doing 1 minute in the back, 1 minute forward. Like I said, this is bonus material. We're going to rock on the neck, in each of these directions, as well as hold these for a count. I'll do the count for you. We're going to do our back neck bridge. We're going to do neck rocks. We're going to count out 25 of those, and then hold for a count. So I don't rub all my hair off. Using environment to place my head on the mat. If you're at home, throw a cushion down, a towel down. Make sure you don't rub a bald spot in. If you're already bald, your head will be slick. You'll slide around the floor. Feet near the ass, cross the arms, and rock up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, get on my shirt, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stay up there, guys. Rock it over. Let's hold it. And relax. I'll tell you when to come out. Get that breathing. Rock it a little bit. And down. Water. We are only human, folks, but we are superhuman, aren't we? Notice I'm chomping on gum all the way through. You can do that if you want. The old-time boxers, to build up their jaws for taking headshots, constantly chewed on pitch tar. Before chewing gum was really popular, pitch tastes like hell. Gum's a whole lot better. So I usually chew all the way through the 8 to 8, most of the exercise program, and obviously spit it before I get to running through some of the boxing and wrestling. Do these front bridges, but first we're going to rock. These rocks are easy. You're going to post your head on your towel, your cushion, whatever. Think about going from the top of your head down towards your nose touching. This isn't that hard. Do 25. Then after that, I'm going to turn my back to the camera. I'm going to rock each ear towards the mat. The ear doesn't have to touch. We're just going side to side to build up the neck in all ranges of motion. Then we're going to stick and hold a front neck bridge. Here we go. And rock. Shoo. Reposition my head. That's 15. That's 20. And that's 25. Turn the back to the camera. Essentially, it wouldn't be coming down like this. I'm going to make sure we can see the side-to-side motion. Maybe you're wondering, am I taking a break because I can't really do it? You'll never know, will you? Head down. Hands up. Use your hands, just fingertips lightly. Touch it like training wheels. Make sure you don't snap your neck until you're used to it. How about never snapping it? That's 10. Right and left is 1. That's 25. We're going to hold that front neck bridge. Again, I wouldn't be repositioning here, but we're doing so to really bring out the technique. Head down. Notice when I put my hands behind the small of my back, I don't grab my hamstrings, because I'll show you that makes the bridge a little easier. Hell, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. Head down. So this is the no-no. This gives me some extra pressure. I mean, it takes the pressure off my neck. Behind the back. Let's just hold it, guys. And breathe. Or chomp your gum. And that's it. Drop it. Shake it out. Adjust those beautiful hairdos. Get some water. We're going to move into the crunch series. Remember, we get 10 different foot positions, so we're getting a total of 100 crunches in. Water first. All right, when you're laying back, remember the proper hand position. Hands clasped back here across your shoulder blades. This prevents you from jerking on your neck or using too much momentum to bring yourself forward. And these crunches, if you only got 1 inch range of motion in you, that's fine, because you're only working abs. We're not trying to call in the psoas or any of the spinal stabilizing muscles, trying to make sure it's all abs. And again, remember, everything about this workout is it's function over form. It's not for aesthetics. We're not trying to turn you into someone taking Mr. Natural Bodybuilder competition. We're turning you into someone who you will strip the fat off of you, just trying to make sure that you can fight hard, and fight for a hell of a lot longer than the other guys. Okay, first position. Put my attractive into the camera here, toes together, heels apart, knees together, proper positioning, and then seeing that, give you the profile. That's it, 10, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, and 8, and 9, and 10. Knees apart, soles of the feet together. You get sweaty enough, you get a flat surface like that, you get some back farts. So not only is it exercise, it's a form of entertainment for friends and family, and up. Let's duplicate the first, toes together, knees together, heels apart, and 10. Knees apart, soles of the feet together. Pike position. Porn star. Or straddle. Right leg out, left leg up. Reverse. On your right side, oblique crunch. Left side. A lot of people tell you don't work your obliques, because those muscles develop very easily and will put you out on the side. Looks like love handles. Well, if you're only worried about form, that's fine. If you're worried about fighting, that's where a lot of these kidney shots or rib shots come in. I'm concerned about not getting hurt. And 10. That's 10. That's a total of 100 crunches. So we've hit our squats and our push-ups. We've hit all the bridging off the rear position, the front neck bridge position with the rocks. We've hit the crunches. Now we got to keep these things in sequence. We're going immediately into the pull force for our pulling group. Then we'll hit grip. Last but not least, on the 8 to 8, we got the jump squats. Then we'll hit the flexibility. Here we will break because we got to bring in our pull-up bar apparatus. But keep in mind, you would not break at home. You wouldn't have this stuff near you. You don't have to break. Optimally, I would just jump right on this thing. Okay? I can do it. You can do it as well. Be right back. Okay, we're back. We had to stop to set up the equipment, but hopefully you've been able to run right through these things as optimally no more than 1 minute's rest in between. Move on to the pull fours. Again, several different ways to do the pull-ups. We're sticking with the 4. Wide grip, standard, chin-ups, and then the arcing pull-ups. We're going to stick with 8 repetitions on each, and we can breathe in between each one. Let's start it with the wide grip. Down, breathe it out. Again, you got to have this pulling group in there. And again, we're doing our grip work after the pull-ups, because if you do the grip work first, you've got nothing left in your hands to get your body back up to the bar. That's bad news. You're going to need all this pulling work, 1 retraction on the punches, gives you some more support in the rear and the ribs, the musculature of the back, better spinal support, makes sure you can take the body blows better, particularly some illegal kidney shots, because there's nothing illegal. And then particularly in your wrestling, you need to have some good pulling group in there, but mainly it's got to be a good pulling endurance. Step the standard grip, which is just shoulder width apart. And breathe it out. Now on these exercises, again, you're going to reference the workbook. We're going to go into some excruciating detail about maybe some finer points that whenever you're not have access to the DVD player or your VCR, you can go through the book and also remind yourself of some certain points, as well as some certain ways to adjust these exercises to increase the difficulty without ever having to go to weights. And there'll actually be some information in there about how to use a backpack with a few books in it, or a standard weight vest. Show you how to increase your strength, kind of like the Milo of Crotona way, with some incremental adding of weights to your own standard functional body weight exercises. Now we're going to take the standard chin-up grip, which is palms facing you. Breathe it out. And just 8. And again, I said just 8, not gestate, unless that's your thing. The last one we're going to use is our arcing pull-ups. These are the hardest. I don't know why I put these at the end of the sequence. These are very, very difficult to do, but they've got a lot of functionality to them, because most of the time when you're pulling up, this motion here is useful if you're fighting against a top wrist lock. Maybe you're caught stuck straight in, some collar and elbow tie-ups to pull someone in. But other than that, there's not a lot of punches that retract this way, not a lot of wrestling going on this way. Now, using your back to pull in this direction or pull punches back to wrestle in this direction for body locks, highly, highly functional exercise. So this is where the last exercise, probably the most important of the pull fours, is the toughest, and I put it at the end because since it appears the most commonly in the fight, I'm going to make sure it's the one that's most used to being stressed. Again, you can arch your chin back, try and take your sternum to the bar. If you're already touching your sternum to the bar, good for you, better man than I am. Just 8, overlap that grip. Don't stop. Altitude blows. Let's keep going. Let's get the grip. Let's not stop this tape. Watch. The only other piece of equipment will be on a couple of sticks or bars. Here I'm using rattan. It's a little lighter than I like to use, but still gets the idea across. We're working on the grip with the twisting grip. Do 1 minute with the arms extended, and then 1 minute with the elbows bent. And the whole time you're trying to get full range of motion on the twisting while you're trying to crush the stick in your grip. Set the watch up and hit, and we're good to go. And twist. Keep it going. And away with these hot lights on, no fans. There's a benefit right now. Now for a little tip, what I use is, when I'm using the bars at home, my own workout, instead of me flying out to do a workout, is I just go down to a Walmart and I buy some of the cheap dumbbell handles. Just don't put any weight on these things. Those weigh about 3.5 to 5 pounds. Short bars, easy to store. About 20 seconds to go. And they really put some torque on the forearms. And here we're not building up necessarily so much grip strength as grip endurance. Sometimes you've had to hang on to a choke or a lock. Some people have lost the hold because their forearms come to failure. This takes care of that. And move them in. 1 more minute. Many a choke has been lost because you can't keep that grip strength going. It's really not your fingers that fell out because that's primarily tendon. It's not the muscle. All the musculature lies in the forearms. Now you can work with hand grips. Some of these things you can find at Iron Mind, and they will increase some of the strength, but it's quick ballistic strength. It's not going to be the sort of thing that you're going to find whenever you're assuming that the match is long and drawn out. That's the kind of strength we're going for, the kind of strength that just goes and goes and goes and goes, and it still has 300 miles in the tank when the other guy's already sitting on empty. That's what we're working for. 25 seconds. Really whip those things around. Now, if you're not used to it and you first grab a heavy bar, don't whip too hard. You'll over-rotate your elbows or your wrist. Get to where you are controlling the motion to a large degree. And the swaying back and forth I'm doing here, just because it's damn hard. You're probably swaying at home. If not, you're not working hard enough, or you're already a hell of a lot stronger. Okay, that's it. We got one more exercise in the 8 to 8, and that's the jump squats. And again, we're going to have to break down to move this equipment out of the way to run right into jump squats. But what you would want to do is have no more than 1 minute, grab the water, towel off, and run right into the jump squats. So we'll be right back, and I'll do this with you. Okay, last one of the 8 to 8 is going to be the jump squats. And again, the main body refer to how to set these up in your different repetitions of them, just with a few exercises that I don't mind you breaking up to some degree. And if you do break up and stop in between, you want to keep your rest to an absolute minimum. Now what I do is I run across in the workbook many different ways to sequence these things with lots of preferred numbers. What I do like to see from you is try and hit, since we're going for the 100 jump squats. Remember, our jump isn't high. We're not taking the knees to the chest right now. All that is one of the variations we will have in the notebook. We're just coming down, touching the fingertips to the mat. Just giving yourself a burst. Maybe it's no more than 6, 8, 10 inches off the mat, because that altitude is really going to drop the higher we get up closer to 100. But we are looking for is to have an exercise that whenever you finish, you should not be able to equalize your breathing that well. You shouldn't be able to equalize it that well while you're doing the exercise. We're trying to push you into an anaerobic threshold. If you get to where you go, hey, the 100's easy, then jump higher. Start bringing the knees to the chest. We're trying to make this hard on you. So we're going to try and make it to the 100 today. Probably going to have to break some of these up, but let's see how far we can go, and we'll see what the altitude does to us. Now, a lot of this counting, we're just going to have to go off the honor system. I'll call some numbers out if and when it's possible. So I'm not usually a mile high boy, but we're getting used to it. Give some straight on, and we'll try maybe to give some in profile as well. So get started, we'll hit the mat, and go.
halfway. At 60. Don't know about you, but I'm walking it. Some profile. $75. Ain't supposed to be easy. $87. Odd number. That's it. We regulate. From there, we'd run right back into the Grappler's Dozen. Remember, these are synergistic as well as the 8 to 8. Run through top to bottom. I'm not going to run through all these with you because there's really nothing to prove with those. Run back and hit the main body for the physical examples. And a lot of the test examples, again, hit the workbook. Again, put these things together and you play with some of those numbers in the workbook. That conditioning is going to go through the roof. There we go. If you follow along with it, good for you. It's the way to do it. Now try and hit that on the maintenance routine at least 5 days a week. You made it all the way through the end. Congratulations. If you had to stop anywhere in there, pick it up, finish up those reputations any way you go, and you're still a special human being. Good for you. Keep working hard.